Hi scientists, my name is Mia and I am here at the Potawatomi Zoo, and today we are going to be talking to Amanda, and she is going to tell us a little bit about the zoo. She's also going to show us some real life nocturnal animals, and she's going to share a little bit about a program where you guys could come and spend the night here at the zoo. Let's go investigate. So today I am here with Amanda, who is an education curator here at the Potawatomi Zoo. Amanda, can you tell us what you do here at the zoo?
So I'm in charge of the education department, and our education department does lots of different activities. We do classes at the zoo, we do camps all summer long. We also do zoo snoozes where people camp out at the zoo. We do a story time for little kids. We do adult classes, adult camps. We also do outreach programs where we visit facilities off-site like libraries, schools, other summer camps, stuff like that.
And what does it take to be a zookeeper or an animal keeper, or just to work here at the zoo?
So we have jobs that don't require college, but if you want to work anywhere with animals in the education department or with our animal staff, then you would have to go to college. And generally you'll get a degree in biology or animal science, wildlife biology, something like that. And usually we'll have done some volunteering and or internships before getting a job as an actual keeper.
Was this something that you always wanted to do, or something that was just random?
So I've always loved, of course, animals in zoos, but I started out actually as a professor at colleges, and then transitioned here when I moved back to the area. I'm from Elkhart, but came back like 7 years ago and found a job here, and I've stayed ever since.
How many animals would you say are there at the Potawatomi Zoo?
I think we have around 340 individual animals and around 180 species.
How many people work here?
Right now we are like fully staffed, so that would be around 80, and then we have around 40 that are year-round staff.
For the people that work here, are they assigned specific animals, or do they work with all of the animals?
So we have different positions. We have primary keepers, and they are going to be in charge of an area, and that area varies. We have 2 hoofstock areas, which would take care of things like our giraffe, takin, rhino. We also have an America's route, which means it takes care of a lot of the North American and South American animals, ranging from like river otters through bison, through peccaries. Then we have an ambassador route, which includes all the ambassador animals, which are the ones that can come out and meet people that go to off-site programs. We have a carnivore route where they take care of the big cats and our painted dogs. So sometimes they're specialized, but usually people are trained in more than one area, and that would be, depending on the day they're here, they might be working with, a group of animals that includes, tigers. The next time they might be here might be like snakes and frogs.
What is something that brings you joy working here?
Anytime that we get to work with the animals, of course, that's a great thing. And when people are just really awed and so impressed, and like you can just tell that they're making connections with the animals and caring more about wildlife, caring more about the environment because they've met these animals and they understand why we need to protect them.
What is one thing that you've learned from working here, or something that you find interesting?
After working here, you just learn how different types of animals can be. One, you can feed this animal avocado, but if you feed it to this other animal, it's toxic. And so just how unique each individual species is.
So I heard you mention in the beginning that you have a zoo snooze sleepover. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So zoo snoozes are where people come and they sleep in tents. You have to bring your own tent, but you sleep in tents in our picnic area. And so people will come, they will set up their tents, and then we do like a pizza dinner. After the pizza dinner, we come into one of our classrooms and we'll meet several of our nocturnal animals. We talk about why our animals nocturnal, what adaptations help them be nocturnal, and then we do a flashlight tour of the zoo. We'll go through and see who's still active at night, and we'd often stop and feed the goats too, because they're always excited to see people. And then they'll go to bed, sleep out in the picnic area, and then in the morning they wake up and do a breakfast, a continental breakfast, and then they get a keeper chat at one of our exhibits, and then after that they're welcome to stay at the zoo for the day.
So I see that you have actually brought some real nocturnal animals in with us today, and those are animals that sleep during the daytime and function how we do during the nighttime. So I was wondering if you could show us a little bit about those animals.
So our first nocturnal animal that I brought out for us today is a tiger salamander. His name is Tony, And you can find salamanders in the woods in Indiana. You can find them anywhere there's temperate forests. And this guy would actually be native to the western half of the United States, but they are going to be most active at night, just like a lot of frogs and toads and newts and other types of salamanders. He does have some pretty tiny eyes, but he does love to eat insects. And it's cooler at night without the sun. With his special skin here, he can drink through his skin, he can breathe through his skin if he's underwater. That means his skin is pretty delicate, and if he's out in the sunlight, it could easily dry out. So for salamanders and frogs and toads, them coming out at night is a good way for them to not get overheated, not get dried out. And if they like to eat insects, insects are really abundant in the nighttime.
So what is the next animal that you are going to show us today?
So our second animal that I brought with us today is a scorpion. This is a Malaysian forest scorpion, and they're one of the biggest species, and they are going to be very, very active at night. They are going to come out hunting insects, kind of like our salamander would. They don't have great eyesight even during the day, so they're going to use all sorts of sensory hairs that are all along their belly and along their legs, and that's going to be primarily how they find their way. They also will use kind of their sense of smell to find their way in the dark too. And they were going to eat other kinds of insects, other types, these are arachnids, so other types of arachnids, small animals, and they have a stinger on their back, which injects some venom. It is going to be for a person about as bad as like getting stung by a hornet. So it definitely wouldn't feel good, but it's not going to be super harmful. But if you were a little insect, it would definitely take you out, and then they would proceed to eat you. So they have these big claws on the front they can use to kind of grab their prey or pull it apart. And if they were upset, they would normally try to pinch first, and then they might try to sting. But the stinger is primarily for them to get their food.
Is this usually the biggest size that they get, or can they get larger than that?
This one is about medium size, so they could definitely get larger than this. We also have emperor scorpions, which are another one of the bigger species of scorpion. So there's definitely tiny ones. Tinier ones tend to be a little more toxic, so that's the ones you'd want to avoid. They do actually fluoresce under black light or under UV light, and we don't know why they do it because it's not something that they can sense. But if you're a scientist going out and studying scorpions, you just take a black light with you, and they'll glow a nice green color, and you can see them really easily.
So what is the next animal that you have for us today?
This is Briar Rose, and she is one of our female tenrecs. And when you look at her, you're going to notice that she looks a lot like a hedgehog. Hedgehogs are pretty nocturnal as well, but these guys are in a completely different group of animals called tenrecs, and they are unique. They are only found in Madagascar, and there's a lesser hedgehog tenrec, which is what this girl is because she looks, again, a lot like a hedgehog. There's a greater hedgehog tenrec. There's ones that swim, there's ones that burrow, so they're a pretty diverse group, and again, primarily only found in Madagascar. She would be closer to an elephant. If I looked at her family tree, it's called a group called the Afrotheria, and it includes amazing animals like elephants. It does not include hedgehogs, so very, very distantly related to hedgehogs despite how close they look. They have the same idea, they have the same adaptation. They don't want to get eaten by predators. A great way to not get eaten is to be spiky. So she has all of these hard hairs. They just have extra keratin in them, so they're tougher. And when she wants to, if she's feeling threatened, she will use the muscles, kind of the muscles that we have that when you get goosebumps, your hair stands straight up. It's the same muscles in her skin. Will help her pull those so they stand straight up. She'll kind of curve over, and that will help her be kind of like a big ball of toothpicks. And most animals, if they have to eat a ball of toothpicks or they can eat something nice and soft, they're gonna leave these guys alone. She is nocturnal. You can see her eyes are fairly small, but she's got those really nice big ears, and her sense of smell is excellent. She's sniffing all the time. And when you look at her, you can also see tons of whiskers across her face. She's gonna be very comfortable in basically complete darkness. She'll just use her sense of smell and her sense of touch and her sense of hearing to find her way around. Being active at night for these guys is good because they eat a lot of insects, and that's when a lot of insects are active too. Another thing is that some of the predators that might go for a tenrec would be sleeping during the nighttime. So when she's awake at night, she can avoid some of those predators.
Do they get any bigger than that?
She is full grown. She's actually 9 now, which is a senior. She's getting up there a little bit, but our male Tennyson is slightly larger, but this is a full grown tenrec.
So what is the last animal that you have for us today?
So for our final animal, I brought one of our owls out. This is Poot. He is an eastern screech owl, and they are owls you find across the eastern part of the United States. There's also a western screech owl you can find west of the Rockies. This guy lives with us, like all of our owls, because either they were born here at our zoo, we have 2 that hatched at our zoo, he's actually the dad of the 2 that we hatched, or they were injured. So we can see on Poot that he is missing one of his eyes. Owls are mostly nocturnal, and they're all hunters, they're all predators, and having just one eye makes it harder for him to actually find his food because he doesn't have very good depth perception. It's harder for him to tell how far away something is. And so if he's swooping down to catch a big bug or to get a mouse, he'd have a harder time grabbing it in time. And that's why he was brought to us. We don't know exactly what happened to his eye, but he was found injured and someone took him to an animal rehabilitator, and they are trained and licensed to care for wildlife. They will find vets that are able to take care of our wildlife like owls, and he's perfectly healthy. He flies pretty well, but he'd have a hard time getting food, so he came to live with us when he was all done with his treatment.
Is there a significance behind why his eyes are that yellow color?
So it's typical for our owls to have yellow eyes. There are some owls that, like our barn owls, have darker brown eyes. So screech owls have golden colored eyes. His eyes are extremely large and they're tube shaped in the back rather than being round. And that just helps him catch all the light that he can. So even when it's pretty dark out, he can still see better than most animals. He also has an excellent sense of hearing. So his ears can pick up the movement of a mouse or of a bug or whatever he's hunting, even if he can't see them very well.
Are those his ears back there?
So his ears are actually to the sides, and these are called ear tufts, and they're actually just feathers. Some birds have them and some birds don't. If you think about like a great horned owl, they have large ear tufts, but that's not kind of like your cats. That's not where the ears actually are. They think that it could either be a way to communicate with each other, because if they're interested, they'll stick them straight up. If they're relaxed, they'll lay a little flatter. Another thing, they think it might just help kind of break up their body shape, make it look a little jagged, kind of like branches.
For your other programs and stuff that you guys do here, where can they find that information?
So you go on our website at potawatomizoo.org, and then you can learn about the animals we have on exhibit, you can learn about admission, and if you look at the education tab, you can learn about all the different programs we offer.
My last question for you is, what advice would you give to our young scientists who are watching?
So my advice would be to make sure that you're getting out there, getting out into nature, and any kind of opportunity you can have to volunteer would be a great experience. Especially if you want to work with animals, getting to work at your local animal shelter, that's great experience. If you get an experience with even farm animals, that will help you in your career with animals, whether you want to be a vet or a zookeeper or a wildlife biologist.
Well, thank you so much for being here today and for showing us real life nocturnal animals and telling us what you do at the Potawatomi Zoo.
Thank you.